year, but maybe in a few years when they add a few more pieces around that superstar, ends up Bryce Harper or Manny Machado. And I know, Alex, you said when the trade happened you didn't like it. Why is that?
Well, I think that from a standpoint that um, you can kind of, I've seen bad trades, and ever since I've been a baseball fan in 2013, that's when I really became an in-depth baseball fan. And we've seen awful trades, awful signings, awful whatever. Um, but this one for the Mets, I've been saying this. They got their second baseman like 5 years too late, and they got Robinson Cano when he was a free agent. And he signed him. I think it would be a completely different thing for the Mets. I think you could look back. If you go back in time and you change one thing, it changes everything. It could change one person falling in love with the game of baseball. It could change anything. So it's always funny saying, well, if he signed with the Mets, who would have known what would happen? Yeah, you don't know. So, but anyways, I think that Robinson Cano going back and being traded to the Mets, going back to New York, great for him. And I think that he can perform more successful in a city where, Seattle's the worst place to play. The quickest road game is an hour and a half on a plane. So, in New York, the closest one is the Yankees. So it's like 20 minutes away. So that just whole factor, and he made his debut in New York. He's going back home, even though it's not with the Yankees. It's still with the New York team. He still had that mentality where, okay, sure, I know exactly how to play in the city. Same different climate, just different ballpark.
And I think that's another thing that Nathan Eovaldi can attest to. I think that obviously wasn't his homecoming, so to speak, with the Red Sox. He really came in as kind of a deadline acquisition, and really Dombrowski just had hopes that he would help them, get to the playoffs and ultimately win the World Series, which he absolutely did. He was one of the most integral parts of that team, and bringing him back, I think, was probably the best thing that the Red Sox will do this offseason, regardless of who they trade for or who they sign, coming up in these next couple months. But at the end of the day, not only was Evaldi, one of the best pitchers on the Red Sox staff during the postseason, but he also established a connection with the fans too. And I think that's something that goes, under that kind of flies under the radar, so to speak, if you will. But for Evaldi to get a $68 million deal on over 4 years, I think is probably one of the best things that could have happened to him, because now it's a real confidence booster that, hey, I had two Tommy John surgeries, I can come back and I can really, hold my own with these guys. And Evaldi's still in his prime. He's just 29 years old. He's entering his age 30 season. So some of these pitchers, and Chris Sale and Craig Kimbrell, and even Daisuke Matsuzaka back when he was with the Red Sox in his prime, put up some of the best numbers of their career, in their first couple years with the team in their age 29, 30 seasons in their prime. And I think Evaldi falls under that category where this guy is no slouch. He's not a back end guy in the rotation. He can be a top three starter if we need him to be. And say David Price goes down for an extended period of time again, like he did this season during the summer months. We need somebody to step in. Who's that guy going to be? Well, you have your answer now.
And I think, if I'm Nathan Evaldi, and you know, he played for the Yankees, he was released by the Yankees after he needed Tommy John surgery. The Tampa Bay Rays gave him back that opportunity to play the game he loved. And when he started pitching again for the Rays, it hasn't been a huge confidence booster for him to be like, okay, a team finally trusts me again, especially after having such a difficult surgery like Tommy John. So now he gets traded to the Red Sox, and he wins a World Series championship with them. And now he was a free agent. And I feel like his free agent contract signing was the best for him. I think if he was still, like, let's say the Red Sox had still 1 or 2 seasons of control of him, let's say he comes out next year and he doesn't pitch well, and now he's out of a job. And then you start looking at, he's 30 years old, he had a bad season, he's done. You've seen it before. Yeah, just like all the guys, especially now in free agency, it's last season, it was the worst free agents like ever. There was like we went through like January through February without one signing. Like it was awful. Or and then like these big guys weren't signed until the very end, not about the money that they wanted. It goes back to the luxury tax. Luckily, this season, there's more teams that got under it and are willing to spend more to create a better team than other teams. But um, yeah, I think for him personally, Nathan Evaldi has to be a huge confidence factor, knowing that a team finally 100% has trusted me, and the fan base is 100% behind me. And it's going to be interesting to see how he performs, knowing that next season.
It can definitely swing both ways. You're right, Alex. And I'm looking at the MLB free agent tracker here on ESPN.com, and one guy I kind of forgot about who signed pretty early on, really, was Josh Donaldson. He was a free agent early on and a third baseman, 33 years old now, and he signed a 1 year deal with the Braves for $23 million. And he was ranked eighth, among free agent rankings from ESPN here. And to sign a 1 year deal for $23 million is a very odd contract to sign, which tells me that he wants to. It's kind of a filling out process with the Braves right now. They lost in the NLDS in 4 games to the Dodgers, but their lineup has the potential to be absolutely loaded. Donaldson, Brian McCann, who's coming toward the end of his career but still possesses some nice power. Ronald Acuna Jr., who's going to be a superstar in this league. You know, all of these things coming together for the Braves right now, and I think that Donaldson is one of the more key pieces to that because even at 33 years old, yes, he's injury prone, yes, he's getting toward the end of the line, but he's still a very productive player. And I think that for the Braves, I think that's kind of honestly, it's a perfect contract for them because either side it goes either way. If the Braves fall apart, Donaldson's only there for a year anyway. If it goes well, the Braves can just extend the deal. So I think that's a great deal for both sides, and he's someone I kind of forgot about, and was you know, not really under the microscope so much as Bryce Harper and Manny Machado was.
And especially knowing that Josh Donaldson suffered from a lot of injuries last season. I think that's why it's just a 1 year deal because it goes back to the fact you can talk about Nathan Evaldi. Let's say the Red Sox still had one or two control seasons of him after got traded to the Tampa Bay Rays. Let's say he had a bad season. Maybe he got hurt. Then going into the offseason, what team is going to want to put trust into him when there's so many better options than that? It just is a fact. So I think maybe that's why Donaldson, did a 1 year deal and he's getting up there in age. And yeah, I think that's why the Braves did that.
And there's still a ton of free agents left to be signed here, Alex. And you go down the list here: Jose Iglesias, Austin Jackson. All these guys. You know, Matt Joyce, Joe Kelly, Dallas Keuchel, Craig Kimbrell, DJ LeMahieu. He was an all-star, and 32 years old. Now the Rockies now, what are they going to do? I mean, the Rockies were a postseason team last year.
Yeah,
they have a lot of questions to be answered. So do the Cubs as well. The Cubs lost in the wild card game, and they were a team that many thought shouldn't have even had to have been in the wild card game. So for them to lose that early on in the postseason, and people looking at Theo Epstein now, like you're supposed to be the best general manager in baseball. What's going on here? We haven't, they won the World Series a couple of years ago, but people expect them to be a team that wins 3 out of 4. So like that kind of a dynasty, and they haven't been. So the Cubs will have a lot of questions to answer too, and some of these teams really, they're being too lackadaisical, I think.
Well, and especially, look, Brendan, I think the reason why some of these guys haven't been signed yet, and a lot of these teams that haven't really put their whole off-season layout out there is because we still haven't reached the winter meetings, and the winter meetings is coming right up like this week. So once we get to the winter meetings, the outlook for these teams that you have questions for is going to be known. Okay, is this team going to be a buyer, seller? What rebuilding? Are they going to add a big piece in? Are they going to sign a Bryce Harper? Are they going to sign a Manny Machado? Are they going to sign a Dallas Keuchel to add into the back end of the rotation? I think that's going to be the decision factor for these teams to see, like, okay, what are we going to do this year? So I think you bring up the Cubs and Theo Epstein. Sure, they're a great team now. They made the playoffs in the wild card game. They lost, but sure, they're a great team. Bryce Harper goes there. Then you bring him right back that argument. Okay, the Cubs have Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper, John Lester, Yu Darvish, Joe Madden, one of the greatest managers in all of baseball, and then you have Theo Epstein, the greatest GM in all of baseball. So just looking at the basics, um, let's not get too hard on these teams because the winter meetings haven't started yet. But once those start, and let's say once we get back here next semester at the end of January, and these guys still aren't signed, similar to last year, then we can start getting on these teams. Okay, why haven't you signed Keuchel yet? Why haven't you signed, you know, some of those other guys you mentioned? But that's what I think. That's why those guys haven't been signed yet, and I think that's why the whole layout for the offseason for these teams, like the Rockies, like the Cubs, well, even the Braves, is out there yet.
Well, maybe it's because teams also just haven't filled out their wish list yet, Alex. And I did this segment last week with Oliver, and I'm going to do it with you when we come back right after this short break here on Talk of the Town. It's the Red Sox and the Yankees off-season wish lists here on Talk of the Town. Don't go anywhere.
What do you think when you see a
Town right now, it's the Red Sox and the Yankees wish list here, Alex. And before we get into this, I just realized during this PSA break, this is our final show of the semester. This is crazy. We were in show number 12 now, and there's 15 weeks in the semester. We missed a couple weeks for Thanksgiving break and whatnot, but this is week 12 of this show, and it's honestly unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. I love doing this show, and it kind of breaks up the whole week for me, and it gets me to hope to the end. It's been a crazy last few weeks for me. I'm a part of the student activities committee, so on campus here, and we've had so many events in the last 2 weeks, so it's been really eating up most of my time. But it's kind of nice to sit down with you and the last major event for me personally here on campus before we go away on break.
Absolutely, and our break is very extended here in college. Not like high school at all, where you have about 11 or 12 days. We get a whole month and a half, so it's gonna be a while before we're back here. So take it all in.
Well, I will be back on January 13th, a week
That is true. I
earlier.
forget that you come back before I do.
Yes, so I'll be back a week earlier, so I'll have about a month. And honestly, I was thinking this morning, I don't want to leave. I love it here. So, if I had the opportunity to just go home for like 2 weeks and then come back for the following 3 weeks, I would. I would just rather go back for the 2 weeks, enjoy Christmas with my family, and then come back. I love it here.
Well, before we get into the wish list segment, Alex, anything on your Christmas list yet? What are you asking for?
Just to have a great time with family and friends back home. This is my favorite time of year, and my favorite holiday is Christmas Eve because my whole family gets together on Christmas Eve and we enjoy some home baked Christmas cookies made by my grandma. So that's my favorite holiday. It's been my favorite holiday since I was a little kid. I love Christmas Eve. There's just a feel. It's the last big anticipation day for Christmas Day, and there's nothing better than a good, crisp Christmas Eve evening, knowing that tomorrow is Christmas. There's that feeling of just that Christmas spirit within you.
Definitely, and I think you're the first person I've ever heard say that Christmas Eve is their favorite holiday.
Really,
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
I hear it a lot.
I to be fair, I've never heard it because
Really, wow.
people always say, well, Christmas morning is my favorite holiday.
No, because then I just go into a depression after all the presents are open, knowing that after the whole year wait for Christmas is over.
Well, no, you still have the whole day after that. I mean, you still eat dinner. Family and friends still come over throughout the day. There's sports on Christmas too.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't know. There's just nothing better than Christmas Eve. You got some college basketball on Christmas Eve. Um, yeah, I think just me personally knowing that I think Christmas Eve always in my family, we don't really do anything huge on Christmas. It's more just myself and my parents on Christmas and my grandma. The whole family doesn't get together on Christmas. We all get together on Christmas Eve, so maybe that's why. Also, the church service we go to on Christmas Eve is always fantastic, and just all around Christmas Eve is my favorite.
All right then. Well, again,
Hot take. I don't know. I guess you would be surprised. Like I've mentioned this to a lot of people, and they've agreed with me. So I'm not just a so like
no, I'm not saying I disagree with you at all. It's just I haven't heard anyone say that Christmas Eve has been their favorite holiday.
yeah. No, it
It's
is.
always been Christmas Day or Christmas night.
Christmas Sunday's Christmas Eve.
What do you mean?
Are you talking about Christmas like at
Like
night?
like Christmas night, like the
Oh.
day of like December 25th.
Why? Why?
I don't know. And
Those people are weird. Let's be honest. Who says Christmas night? Whatever. Santa's already home with Rudolph.
well,
at that
hey,
point.
hey, maybe they do presents at night. I don't know.
Whatever.
All
Who
right.
knows anymore?
Hey, nobody. All right. So, Alex, I wanted to ask. You have your Christmas wish list. What do you think the Yankees offseason wish list should be around the holiday season? What do you think that the Yankees should be looking to do?
Both Manny Machado and Bryce Harper. No, I'm kidding.
That might be a little greedy.
Well,
I think they might be getting some Cole instead.
hey, I mean, if it wins us another championship, I'll take it. But I think from a Yankee fan's perspective here, I think that either you can look at it both ways. Both of these two guys, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, I think had different aspects that can both benefit and hurt the Yankees in the same way. If the Yankees get Bryce Harper, where do you put him? You got Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Aaron Hicks, Clint Frazier, Jacoby Ellsbury. You signed Brett Gardner to another one-year deal right after the season ended. Those are 6 outfielders right there. Where the heck are you going to put Bryce Harper? One of the best outfielders in the entire game of baseball. Some people have said put him at first base. Sure, but what about Greg Bird and Luke Voigt? Yeah, if Luke Voigt, you can make the argument he was the reason why the Yankees made it to the wild card game and into the playoffs because of his deep run, late run from mid-August up until the end of the season and through the playoffs. But what if he comes out this year and pulls a Greg Bird, where he strikes out and can't hit above 200? Then you're out of luck. So I think that Bryce Harper can provide so much more, and especially adding that lefty power in between Judge and Stanton. But Manny Machado, Didi Gregorius is out half the season due to Tommy John surgery, and I think if you can put Manny Machado at shortstop, and then maybe put, I know you said this before on the show, put Didi at second when he comes back to make shorter throws with his hurt arm. But then where do you put Torres? Torres is potential rookie of the year candidate last season.
They got rid of Torres. They DFA'd Torres.
What?
Yeah, you didn't hear this? They DFA'd Torres a couple weeks ago.
Gleyber Torres?
Gleyber Torres.
That's Torres.
Oh, Ronald Torres?
Yeah. Gleyber Torres, the potential rookie of the year candidate.
Oh, the third baseman. Okay. All right.
Yeah, they had Andujar and Torres, not Torres. They DFA'd Torres, and then the Cubs they traded him to the Cubs, and the Cubs DFA'd him. Yeah, I think that. So where do you put him once Didi comes back? You got to put Torres somewhere, and you got to put Andujar somewhere, and if you can't put Machado at first, so I think out of the two of those, if I were to take anyone, I would take Bryce Harper because of that lefty factor in between Judge and Stanton, and then my second person on this wish list has to be Dallas Keuchel. After the Yankees kind of lost out on Patrick Corbin, sure, I don't want to sound rude or anything, but I didn't really care for Patrick Corbin with the Yankees. I think, especially how the whole Sonny Gray thing went, I'm kind of nervous bringing in guys that haven't really pitched in a big market team into New York because look how Sonny Gray performed. Now we're stuck with him. And I think that Dallas Keuchel could provide something huge for the New York Yankees, especially in their rotation. And I've heard this as well. And someone tweeted this morning. would you sign either Harper or Machado and then trade Andujar, Clint Frazier, and Sonny Gray to get Corey Kluber? And I say yes, 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 yes. Give me Corey Kluber. Andujar, I want to say thank you for being a Rookie of the Year candidate, and he's going to be a superstar. Let me tell you, he's going to be a superstar. But I want Corey Kluber, and I want either Harper or Machado on this team. And I think there's no room for Clint Frazier in the outfield anymore, especially if we sign Harper. And if we get Corey Kluber from the Indians, you look at their rotation, you got Kluber in there, you got Severino, you have Tanaka, you have Sabathia. If they sign back Cap, boy, you just go from a team that didn't have a rotation to a rotation, and look out.
See, for me, on the Red Sox side of things, honestly, I think the wish list can really depend on what other teams do, such as the Yankees. And I think that the Yankees are first and foremost what the Red Sox need to look out for this offseason. Okay, these are our biggest competitors. These are our division rivals. These are the guys that are coming for our backs because we took them down last year in the playoffs. I think it really depends on what the Yankees do. Do they get Machado? Do they get Harper? Which I don't think is likely because, like you said, where would you put him? I mean, you have a loaded outfield, and you have two power bats in the outfield alone with Stanton and Judge. So for the Red Sox, I think a lot of reunions should be on their wish list. Jose Iglesias could be one of them. I think that Eduardo Nunez is very injury prone. As much as I love the guy, I think it's time for him to go. I don't think Nunez is a reliable piece anymore. I think he was out from most of the playoffs, and granted, he made a couple of the biggest plays of the entire playoffs. That last out in the Yankees series is the one that sticks out to me. But he's just too injury prone, and I don't think you can rely on him for another 162 game season, especially if Dustin Pedroia is not able to come back. So you need somebody there that can fill in at shortstop and second base when necessary. And Jose Iglesias is now one of the most shorthanded shortstops in the game, and I think he's one of the more underrated defensive shortstops in the game as well. His offense needs some work still. He's about a 220, 230 hitter, which isn't great, but you can live with it because Eduardo Nunez was not that much better. So I think that a reunion with him should be on the wish list. And another guy I think should be on the wish list is Andrew Miller. I think the Red Sox bullpen is something that everyone was suspect to going into the playoffs, and they performed way better than anybody expected, myself included. And was really one of the biggest reasons why the Red Sox made it to the World Series in the first place. And I think Joe Kelly and Ryan Brazier, along with Eovaldi coming out of the pen, Eovaldi's going to be a starter come 2019, but those two guys, Kelly and Brazier, are going to be, fighting neck and neck for that closer spot because Craig Kimbrell is, on record saying he wants a 6-year deal, and there's no way Dombrowski's going to give him a 6-year deal. And if he does, oh boy, it won't be good. But the thing is, Andrew Miller could be that guy to be the closer because Joe Kelly and Ryan Brazier are not solidified closers. They're more middle relief guys that come in during mop up situations or guys that you need to bridge from your starter to the back end of your bullpen. I think that Andrew Miller is a stud. I think that when the Red Sox got rid of him the first time around, I didn't like it, and I'm praying that they bring him back. I think that he's a guy that's necessary, a necessary piece of this puzzle to really top the Yankees again next year.
I think that if Andrew Miller goes to the Red Sox, you would have to say thank you for the Yankees for making him who the pitcher he is today. Anyways, I think that I disagree with you on the whole statement about Ryan Brazier or Joe Kelly being the closer with the Red Sox, that they don't get Andrew Miller. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think you have to look at a closer within the organization almost like a retail manager position. You want to hire within the organization. And look how Chapman has been good with the Yankees, but nothing like, Mariano. Like, let's be honest here. I think if you look at successful closers within teams, they're not free agent signings. They've either come up with a team or have been with a team in a relief role that moved into the closer role. And especially with how crucial Ryan Brazier was to this Red Sox team, came out of nowhere. It's almost like Dellin Betances with the Yankees. He came out of nowhere. And when Mariano retired and David Robertson left to go to be with the White Sox, Betances was a closer for a short minute there. Then they, got Andrew Miller, and then they got Chapman, and so on, and the rest is history. And then, Andrew Miller left to go to the Indians, and then you get Robertson back, and then you get Canley back. So, and Robertson's still a free agent. So maybe even David Robinson goes to the Red Sox. He's said it that he would like to go there.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. And the Red Sox and the Yankees. If you had to pick between one of the two teams, it's like a kid in a candy shop. You can't make a decision. So, I
I don't
think
think I can make a decision.
I think both of us could make an easy decision. But as far as for them, the players, I don't think it's an easy decision whatsoever. I think that it's two of the top organizations in baseball, two of the top organizations in sports. Although Alex, you would disagree with me for some reason. I don't know why, but
No, I would agree.
you would agree. But
Yeah,
if
it's
you were
almost
going to do a speech in your class about why the Yankees have and always will be better than the Red Sox.
yeah, it's all history based. You got 27 champions, 56 Hall of Famers came out of New York.
All right.
You can't.
Weren't you going to call John Sterling and have him debate me on this?
Yeah, I can call him maybe during the break.
All right.
I'll try. He might be still sleeping, but it's a big day for him. He loves football, so maybe I won't bother him on Sunday. Maybe I'll get him back.
What team's he a fan of?
I would have to say either the Giants or the Jets. Yeah, I knew.
Apologize, Mr. Sterling. No.
Yeah, I know he used to be the voice of the Atlanta Braves before he came with the Yankees, and maybe, yeah,
Maybe a
Cardinals
Falcons
fan.
fan?
Yeah, hey, maybe a
They're
team
having a
out
rough
there.
year too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who. I think. Yeah, I don't know. Great question, but I would have to say either the Giants or the Jets. I believe.
I can tell you neither one of them are on my power rankings that we're doing later in the show.
Well, I would hope not.
I would hope the Browns are not on yours either.
We'll see.
Oh boy. Okay. All right. Well, back to the topic of discussion, these wish lists. I don't think there's really anything that you can say that either one of these teams could do or not do that wouldn't put them in the running to be a World Series contender next year. If you leave these two teams as they are right now, they're still two of the top teams in baseball. One of them is still going to win the AL East. I don't think that's a question, unless the Tampa Bay Rays come out of nowhere and do something. Because, like you said, they were underrated. They were a 90-win team last year, and most people didn't even realize that.
If I was the general manager of Tampa Bay, I would do whatever the hell it would take for me to get Bryce Harper on that team. I think if Bryce Harper goes to the Tampa Bay Rays, they will win the division and win the World Series. I'm telling you.
That's a little bit of a stretch. I don't know if you could say that make the playoffs, fine. Win the division, okay. I mean, a bit of a stretch, but okay. Win the World Series, no. Absolutely not. Absolutely.
It would be over a 100-win team. They
I
were a
don't know if you
90-win
could say
team
that, though,
last
because
year.
are you going to get the same production that you did out of Blake Snell? Are
Yes.
you really going to get that Cy Young 21 win season? You're not going to get that.
Maybe not 21, but definitely higher than 15.
So in the 15 to 20 range, but you also have to realize that there's a lot of moving parts to that puzzle as well. And all of those guys that run that team were role players, and they all bought in and said, "Hey, why don't we try and make some noise this year and do whatever it takes to come back and finish this thing strong." After the All-Star break, that team was dead and buried, and nobody thought that they would make any moves to the deadline, and they did it. And they built from within, like you said, and all those.
Same
guys,
with the Red Sox.
Yeah, but
They won. They won. Okay, let's get into this conversation.
Okay.
If you take Mookie Betts, Andrew Benintendi, and JD Martinez out of the picture, everyone is basically role players. Who was a World Series MVP?
Years.
Yeah, role player.
Okay, but
Who was your second
these-
baseman?
Ian Kinsler.
Role player. Who was your shortstop?
Xander Bogaerts. He
Okay.
is not a role player.
No, he's in the top 4. Third baseman.
It's a rotation. Eduardo Nunez was.
Nunez, role player. Role player. You had
Rafael
3.
Devers is not a role player.
No, but he's I would say from a non-Red Sox fan, a slow, young player, just like Gary Sanchez. And then you have 3
That's not
role
true.
player
He's not-
catches.
At least he's not lazy. We
No,
don't have
no,
3
people
role
call him
players at
lazy.
Catcher Christian Vasquez is one of the best defensive catchers in the league.
Yeah, but what about his offense?
Okay, fine. Catchers aren't really known to hit unless they hit for power, like Sanchez.
Right. And I think that's why I think if Sanchez's defense needs to be overlooked. But let's be honest here, Brendan. The Red Sox took what the Tampa Bay Rays did well this year as well. They made a World Series team into a role player team. They did. Their MVP was a guy that came out of Toronto halfway through the season and was basically a nobody. Then he's an MVP, and you're going to sit here and tell me that next season that these guys are going to have the same seasons that they did last year?
You never
No,
know. It's
no.
in sports. No. Listen, hear me out here. I think that if a player finds the correct environment that they can thrive in, like obviously Toronto is not a good environment to play in. They don't sell out the stadium. The fans are never there to support them. The stadium's dark. It's old. It's just not. It's not a good place to play. The organization is not well run at all. Whereas the Red Sox or the Yankees, they have a nice stadium. They have good ownership. They have good fans. It is.
Well, I'm gonna go that far with it. Good fans.
Oh yeah, you're right. The Yankees don't sell out their stadium every night. I forgot. Sorry. Anyway, I don't think you can look at it and say, oh well, they're role players. It was luck of the draw. They made the good trade at the right time. I don't think you can look at it like that. I think you have to look at it and say these guys found the right environment to play in. Look at Nathan Eovaldi in Tampa Bay. He was a solid
player.
pitcher in Tampa Bay. And he came here and he thrived under the spotlight, no less. And most of those players, role players like a Steve Pearce, like a Eovaldi, they would have cracked underneath that pressure in the bright spotlight of the World Series. And it was kind of the other way around. You expect the superstar to perform, and Clayton Kershaw crumbled. He was horrible in that series.
I wouldn't say horrible.
No, he was horrible. He was horrible.
No, I wouldn't say horrible.
The Red Sox batted him around in Game 1 for 5 earned runs in like 3 2/3 innings. He was awful. And it's been known. It's been known for him to come into playoff games and struggle.
He's still one of the greatest pitchers of all time.
Oh, I'm not denying that whatsoever. He's one of the best regular season pitchers of all time. I'll give him that.
First ballot Hall of Fame.
Has he won a World Series?
No.
No.
But, see, I don't buy into that stuff when I start
I
talking
do.
Why?
Defense wins championships in any sport. It doesn't matter what it is. Okay, defense wins championships, and it starts with the pitcher on the mound. And you expect your number one starter to go out there and get you a win. And Chris Sale didn't do that. I'm not going to give him the free pass here. Chris Sale wasn't himself during the playoffs. David Price was. Okay, and many people may think that David Price is not, oh well, he's on the decline. He's on the back end of his career. You can say whatever you want about the guy, but the fact of the matter is, he was a stud in the playoffs. He was unbelievable in the ALCS and the World Series. Really, he came out of absolutely nowhere. He came back from the dead. Let's be real, he did. And for him to face all that scrutiny and that criticism throughout the entire season, and to do that to shut his haters up in the playoffs was ridiculous. And I don't think any baseball fan can admit to that. And Kershaw is a guy that you expect to come out and perform when the lights are at their brightest, and he did. He fell short. And the guys like Eovaldi and Steve Pearce took that opportunity and ran with it and said, "Hey, we're here to win a championship, and we're damn sure going to do it." And they did. And now I think they found the correct environment that they wanted to stay in, clearly, because they both re-signed contracts here. And I think that these are now the pieces that the Red Sox were missing to put them over the top. And I think that now it's all about it. Those were the building blocks, and now it's about adding on, because they are in prime position to go for a repeat this year. And it is hard to repeat in sports. It's probably the hardest thing to do is repeat, because now you're the team that everybody's coming for, and you have the target on your back. The Yankees and the Astros specifically. The Astros were the other team in the running for Eovaldi. So I think that the Astros now are going to take this a bit personally and say, okay, these guys are personally out here to beat us. But the Red Sox can't focus on just Houston. They have to realize we have a team in our same division that's coming after us that was a 100-win team, and that's the Yankees. And that's why I said the wish list depends on what these other two teams do, what these other two focal point teams do in this offseason, that really the Red Sox can gauge what they need to fix and what they need to alter going into next year.
Brendan, I have two things. And first is going to be the Red Sox are going to have a very tough time this offseason, knowing that they're already over the luxury tax. And I think you might have to settle, if you're a Red Sox fan, that, well, we got a championship and we might not be able to get the right pieces that we are in need of to win another one this year. And I think that looking at the way the season has gone and the offseason has gone, and the way the other teams have kind of tried so hard to get under the luxury tax, kind of similar to what the Yankees have done to get those big guys, to get those big contracts and spend however much it costs to get another championship in New York. And we're going on 10 years without a championship. Um, so just looking at the way that the Yankees have no excuse this offseason. You can't say, well, we're over the luxury tax. We couldn't spend the money. We're trying to get under the luxury tax. We have these big contracts still on the books. The only big contract that's still on the books is Jacoby Ellsbury. And the Yankees just got back. I don't know if you know this, but his 2018 season back in his insurance because he didn't play in one spring training or regular season game. That's $22 or $22 million or more right back added into the budget. So that's 1 year of Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, or whatever. So, and then my second point was going to be getting to your point about it's so hard to repeat in baseball. It goes right back into it. Well, Red Sox are over the luxury tax. They can't pay too much more without spending even more money. So you might not get any more people back, any more players back than what you already have now. You might have to just settle with the team that you have now and hope for the best. That's why I think it would be best for either Joe Kelly or Ryan Brazier to be the closer because the Red Sox are probably not going to get an Andrew Miller. And they're probably not going to get a Dallas Keuchel in that rotation. You're going to have to settle with the team you have now and hope that these role players can thrive on the Boston, thing and whatever. And I know you want to win every year, but you might just have to enjoy the experience and hold on to that championship victory for another few more years before you get another shot at it. Not saying that the Red Sox are going to be out of it, but this is what makes baseball great rather than any other sports. Every single year, there's at least 2 or 3 or more new teams in the playoffs that weren't there in the last season.
See, I think that this is a bigger year for the Red Sox than most people realize. I think that a lot of people don't realize that Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, Andrew Benintendi, Chris Sale, all their contracts are up at the end of the year, and they're arbitration eligible. Betts, Bogaerts, and Benintendi are, as well as Rafael Devers in 2 years. But they're already over the luxury tax. So what's Dombrowski planning on doing? He's going to have to offer them. You're going to have to keep Mookie Betts at the very least. At the very, very least, you're going to have to keep Mookie Betts somehow. And he's a perennial. He is an MVP. And he's probably going to be in the MVP conversation along with Mike Trout, and who's a staple in the MVP conversation since he's been in the league, and a few others, and with Judge and Stanton for years to come. So you're going to have to keep him. Benintendi, a perennial all-star, who I think got snubbed this year. But anyway, the point is, you have to keep at least 3 of these 5 guys that are with contracts expiring in the next year to 2 years. That's your entire core right there. Chris Sale is your entire rotation. If David Price cannot perform to the level that he did in the postseason this year for the next however many years he has on his contract, 4, I believe, 3 or 4, where does that leave you? Chris Sale is that entire rotation. Andrew Benintendi is a third of that outfield. So is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is the heart and soul of your organization. Never mind just, being a solid player in your outfield. He is your MVP. He is your engine. If you take, you can't even really make this comparison because the Yankees have both Stanton and Judge. But if Stanton was never on the Yankees and you had just Judge in that outfield, if you take Judge out of that outfield, where does that leave the Yankees? It's the same. That's what the comparison is with Mookie Betts on the Red Sox. That is the comparison. Xander Bogaerts, he's your sure-handed shortstop. He's a guy that can hit 300. He can hit 25 home runs. He can drive in 80 runs a year. Those kind of things like that are integral parts of this team, and all 4 of those guys are extremely important to the success of the Red Sox. And you have to wonder, where is this money going to come from? Because all of those guys are going to want huge money contracts. If you're really interested in the benefit of the team and you want to take a pay cut, fine, so be it. More power to you. But right now, I'm not sure where that money's going to come from, and you have to lock up at least 2 of those guys during the season.
This Red Sox team, the 2018 team, reminds me of the 2009 Yankees. And it was the last World Series championship the Yankees won. And what this team was consisted of was guys that really the last pinnacle years of their career in Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, Robinson Cano was still with the team. GC Sabathia to sign a long-term deal with the Yankees, almost 10-year deal. Um, Guys like um, Brett Gardner made his debut that year. Um, just in general, this 2019, you look at the core of the Yankees and what made the Yankees great in 2009, similar to where the Red Sox are today. You don't want to give up that core. And that core of the Yankees cost so much money. And um, after they won that World Series championship, they still haven't won one because of the fact of money. Money wins championships in baseball. And when you spend the money to get these great players, and the time comes that they're a free agent and they've had a great season, they want more money. And they're going to go to a team that is going to offer them the most money. I would love, if let's say I was a Boston Red Sox, right? And I'm, just won a World Series championship. If you're Nathan Eovaldi, and let's say the Yankees called you, you just got offered a 6 years, $70 million deal.
4 and 68, I think.
4 and 68.
4 years, 68 million.
Oh, okay. Well, let's say the Yankees called him up, offered him a 6-year, $100 million deal. You're gonna go with that. So I think if you're Mookie Betts, right, and you get a phone call from the Dodgers, let's say the Dodgers, they offer you a $10 million, $350 million deal. That for sure is not going to come out of Boston. It's not. Look what happened with the Yankees and Robinson Cano.
You're right. It's not going to come out of Boston. But the thing is, out of those four guys, Bogarts, Benintendi, Betts, and Devers, who's up in 2 years, and Chris Sale, so 5. But the only one I could see taking a hometown discount to stay here is Mookie Betts. He's the only one. Chris Sale, I could see walking out the door. Andrew Benintendi, I could see potentially walking out the door. Betts and Benintendi are homegrown talent, like you said. And right now, I don't think I could see Benintendi staying here, mainly because he's not the guy. I think he could find another team where he could be, the face of the franchise, because he is that good, and he does possess the talent to be able to carry a team. I'm not saying that that's anywhere in the near future, say next year, after 2019 or anything. It might take a couple of years for him to get that deal he's looking for, but as of right now, I don't think that there's anyone in that list that I could say that will positively stay here on a hometown discount other than Mookie Betts. He's the only one that I could see doing. He loves it here.
I said the same thing about Robinson Cano when he was a free agent. I thought Robinson Cano loved New York, and when the Yankees offered him that 7-year, over almost $300 million deal, he went to the Mariners for, I think it was like an 11 or 12-year deal for over $300 million. And who would have thought, same thing, New York or Seattle. Oh my gosh, how could he give up playing for the Yankees for 7 years, making over $250 million? Well, these players are not greedy, but it's anything. When you want to make more money, especially in today's world, it's simple. It's just the game. It really is. It's different from many other sports. Players change. I think what the Red Sox might want to look to do is, how do you get more money off the books? You might have to trade a David Price to keep a Mookie Betts. And then if you trade a David Price, then who's in your rotation if you can't sign Chris Sale after you sign Mookie Betts?
This is interesting because this is when Dustin Pedroia comes into conversation. He hasn't played in over a year and a half. He's played, I think it's like 5 games in the last year and a half. And he's on the books. He's still owed. He signed a 10-year contract back in 2010. He signed a 10-year deal, and it's through 2020, so he still has a couple years left, and he's owed $20 million. And that contract was signed with a year still left. It was a 10-year extension. So basically, an 11-year contract worth $110 million. So, and Pedroia is still owed $20 million with 2 years left on his deal. And if he's not going to be able to play, that's $20 million you have to free up somehow. So, and as much as I love Pedroia and I want to see him finish his career with Boston, I just don't. I don't think I can see it. And if he doesn't get healthy, it's definitely not going to happen.
Well, I think it goes into the conversation of the whole Ellsbury type deal with the Yankees. If Pedroia doesn't play with the Red Sox, for a whole season, then they get that money back from insurance. So, um, what hurt the Red Sox was Jacoby Ellsbury didn't play either in one spring training game or one regular season game or playoff game. But Justin
Pedroia was
Pedroia
in.
did.
Yeah.
So
Pedroia played
you
spring
lost
training.
out on that $20 million insurance money. So you had to pay him because he played. So hey, you just lost out for 4 games, $20 million. Same thing with Alex Rodriguez and the Yankees. A-Rod, he was in that whole 2009 thing. And you talk about big money contracts. He was a reason why. One of the biggest reasons, or his contract was the biggest reason why the Yankees went so long without winning a World Series championship because they couldn't spend the money on anywhere else. Everyone kept waiting for 2013. Okay, we can't really do anything here because we have so much money on the books. And then after that season, they signed Brian McCann, Carlos Beltran, Andrew Miller was in there too. These big money guys to help stay in New York. Well, when that didn't work out, you signed these old guys that can't really hit the baseball anymore, and that didn't work out. And then after that, you start seeing guys like Aaron Judge. You trade for Stanton. You get guys like Gleyber Torres in there, Miguel Andujar. You have Greg Bird, Gary Sanchez, and now you're starting all back over again with your core Yankees. When the Yankees get to this time, they're not going to be able to sign all these guys back. Gary Sanchez, if he comes back out and performs the way he's supposed to, the way he really has been, and I love Gary Sanchez. I think he's in the top 5 greatest catchers in all baseball. He's fantastic, and if he performs the way he's supposed to perform, if he can hit over 270 and hit more than 35 home runs and drive in more than 90 RBIs, that's a catcher. I don't give a crap. Defense wins championships, sure, but imagine if Sanchez hit 270 with over 30 home runs. The Yankees most likely would have won the division or been in the race even more. And especially if Judge didn't get hurt for the 2 months, wow. Or if Santa could, do something more than a strikeout in April.
It goes back to that 4 game series at Fenway. You were at the clincher for that,
Yeah.
that series, the final game of that series on Sunday Night Baseball, and the Red Sox came back and won. Had the Yankees had Judge for that series, honestly, and I'm with you on this, I think it would have been different. I think it would have been a lot different, as a matter of fact. It would have been split. I don't think the Red Sox would have extended their leads, to the extent that they did. So you're right, and this time that the Red Sox are in right now, they have a year left with these guys under contract, under team control for another year, and then what do? So this year is one of the biggest years for the Red Sox, but this time is going to come for the Yankees too, because they have a lot of young guys on the books too as well. Judge, I'm not sure what Judge's contract situation is, but it's got to be coming up soon.
I believe the last time I checked, these guys aren't up for another 2 to 3 years. So it's a little longer than the Red Sox.
Okay, so the Yankees right now are right around where the 2017 Red Sox were. With these guys still for 2 to 3 years, you still have some room to wiggle and to play with. Trying to get a championship under your belt. That's the ultimate goal with this team, with these guys that are still under team control. Before you had to pay them the big bucks.
Well, here's an interesting factor into why you can't really compare the way the Red Sox and Yankee contracts are. Because the big year that these contracts are going to be up, Tanaka is going to be off the books, Ellsbury is going to be off the books, CC Sabathia is going to be tired, Brett Gardner is most likely going to be retired. And especially um, Stanton is mostly being paid from uh, the Marlins. So, and he's going to have, he signed like what, 12-year deal type thing. So he has like probably 6 or 7 more years in New York on the books. And then the Yankees are under the luxury tax. This is a big difference between the Red Sox and the Yankees. The Yankees are under the luxury tax. And that's a huge, huge factor in all of this because now they can spend the money without being impacted in a large way, unlike the Red Sox. And the way they are, they don't like to go over it. They might go over it this year to get a guy like Bryce Harper or Manny Machado in New York, but if they don't get one of those two guys, they're still going to be under that luxury tax. And coming into the next few seasons, you might start looking at contract extensions. If you get an extension on Judge, Didi, Sanchez, those even Torres and Andujar, now the Eagles are going to have those the rest of their career. They've been able to keep these top guys. You look back at Mariano, Derek Jeter, Andy Pettit. Andy Pettit went to the Astros, but still, Jorge Posada. Just they've been able to keep that core always in their team. So or on their team. So uh, different comparative to the Red Sox. The Red Sox have never really been able to keep a long core for a long period of time. And you're going to see something shift here in Boston. Maybe you'll get guys coming up from within the organization to kind of fill in for an Andrew Benintendi or a Devers or a Chris Sale type deal. You never know.
It's definitely a revolving door over the course of the years for the Red Sox. I think that these next couple of years are going to be, pretty testing for Dave Dombrowski and his general manager skills. I think that it's going to take a lot for him to keep all those guys here. I'm not sure how he's going to do it being over the luxury tax. And I think it really comes down to, freeing that Dustin Pedroia mind somehow, or perhaps trading him away, or it's kind of similar to the Jacoby Ellsbury situation, except for the fact that you get that money back. The Red Sox don't get that money back because he played in spring training. But regardless of that, you would think it's the baseball season just ended with how much baseball we're talking about here. It is an NFL Sunday after all, so we're going to take a quick PSA break and come back and dissect the Patriots and the Finns down in South Florida here later this afternoon. Talk of the town. Don't go anywhere. Alex Fuse taking you up until 12 o'clock noon time here at Dean College. Alex, you informed me over the break this is actually week 11 of the show.
Yeah, because it's week 14 of the NFL. So although maybe it's week 11 for me and week 12 for you because
Yeah, you missed a week.
I
You
missed a week.
last week.
So yeah, so I think you kept it right, but I don't know because we missed 1 week because of basketball, and then we missed the other week because of the Thanksgiving break, and then last week. So yeah, I would say maybe week 11 or week 12. Who cares?
Yeah, it's one or the other. And you're right. Maybe it's different for you because your time clock. You missed a week.
Yeah.
So you're just counting the week you missed.
Because
Anyway,
it's been 1
regardless-
month since the last time I've been here with you.
True. That is true.
So
Yeah.
it feels like so long, but yet so not a lot. It's been a long month.
It's been a long semester. Let's put it that way.
Oof, you aren't kidding.
Well, it is an NFL Sunday, folks. We have an hour left in the show, and we're, for the majority of it, going to be talking about the NFL.
Oh, here we go.
So, Alex, I know you're extremely excited, but we have a huge Patriots game, a hat and T-shirt game, as the Patriots like to call it. With a win, the Patriots clinched their 10th straight AFC East title. Can you believe that, Alex? 10 straight. That's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I think. Oh boy, are we going? Can we go? Oh, I think the coffee just kicked in, Brendan. I'm just like, oh, here we go. Can I give my take? Can I give you my take?
Pats Dolphins, go for it.
All right. So the Patriots earned a good and necessary win last week to keep pace in the conference, right? Still waiting for that statement game that says these coaches and players are capable to complete and dominate 4 quarters of football. No time like the present, right, Brendan? And I think they got a chance to clinch the division away from home, where this team has struggled, and 2, do it in a place where more talented Pats teams have fallen very frustrated, flatly. So I think those 2 main points. Look, the Patriots come out today and they stomp on the Dolphins' throat, and hopefully, they go swimming away, back into the ocean down there in Miami, especially knowing. Let's be honest here. Let's be real. And I got all my energy back. I'm just like, oh, here we go. So I'm gonna stand up. All right, let's do this. I'm like, what's that? Like, I'm gonna like that SNL sketch. Don't worry, I won't go through the table, but down by the van, anyways, oh my gosh, I'm okay.
What's going on with you right now? Is that coffee a turbo shot? What
Here
is
we go.
that?
Okay, so I think that if you're the Patriots today, you have basically sucked on the road the entire season, right? They've played garbage on the road. They've played scared. They've played not the way that they've played at home the entire season, Brendan. I think you can attest to this. Just like a completely different team. If you watch a home game and an away game, completely different team. And I think today, knowing that they're 1 win away to clinch the division, I mean, let's be honest here. You have the Jets, the Bills, and the Dolphins in the division. You better clinch that division, otherwise something's wrong. So don't get too excited here. But if the Patriots have a complete win today in all 4 quarters without getting someone hurt, you can't have that. And just playing a complete game where, Brady and the Dolphins don't have a good track record. But so you look at it where, okay, well, big test for the Patriots today. Huge test. If they get a 4-quarter win today that you feel confident that the players and the coaches put this together, they make a big win, well, Patriots are back, baby.
So here's the thing for me. The Patriots are 1-5 in their last 6 games in Miami. I saw that stat last night on Twitter, and that's horrible. That's just not good. 1-5 in Miami, and I don't know why. I've tried to figure this out, Alex, for a while now. But why are the Patriots so bad in Miami? Is it because they have to go down there in December every year and they're used to playing in the cold weather up here at home, and then they have to go down and face the humidity down there? I really don't know what it is. Like I'm just genuinely trying to come up with solutions as to why it's been so bad.
I think I have one. Okay.
All right, go for it.
By the way, I was just spinning my chair and I feel a little dizzy. But And maybe this is why I just thought of this.
God.
I'm losing my mind. See what happens when I don't have time to. This is my weekly therapy session. I can just ramble on about whatever sits in the back of my mind for 2 hours straight with you. Pretty soon, Campus Safety is going to come up here and take me away. They're right downstairs in Dean Hall. Anyways, oh my gosh, if I can think straight right now, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. My point was the reason why I think the Dolphins always beat the Patriots in Miami is because this is a Super Bowl game for them. Okay? You have the New England Patriots coming to your home. You need to win this game. It's the same way when
It's going to be even worse this year because the Dolphins are still in the thick of, for, a wild card
Exactly.
race. So
Exactly.
they still have something to play for, regardless if the Patriots win the division today or not. The Dolphins are still going to be in it. They're still going to be, only 2 games back, depending on what happens today with the Chargers, which is absolutely ridiculous, might I add, that the Chargers are sitting here at 9-3 and are in position for a wild card spot, where the Steelers are 7-4-1. They lead their division, but they get a home playoff game. That doesn't make any sense to me. And the thing is with that whole scenario with the wild card teams, I think it should be based upon record, not based on who wins the division. I think that's absolutely baloney. I think it's stupid because the Chargers are clearly a better team than the Steelers, and they proved it by beating them on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago.
True, and I agree with you on that. We actually agree on something. Anyways, I think that the whole point where you look at other sports, when the Yankees go into town to face the Miami Marlins, that stadium was packed this past season because the Marlins, this was their moment to shine. They didn't have that. It's a big game for them. The Dolphins, like you said, they're still in the thick of things. They could still win a wild card game if they win a few more games. This is a huge game for the Dolphins. Imagine saying that, yeah, we beat the Patriots at home. It's not as great saying we beat the Patriots in Gillette or in Foxborough, but still, you beat the Patriots in your house. That's huge. So I think this is why the Dolphins typically beat the Patriots because of that big game factor. Well, we need to beat the Patriots, that type thing. Well, I think today, Tom Brady and the Patriots make their statement strong. We're coming for you, the Saints. We're coming for you, Drew Brees. We're going to face you in the Super Bowl. We're going to beat you in the Super Bowl and win another Super Bowl championship.
See, the thing for me is Tom Brady is what makes this Patriots team go. And he's gotten progressively better ever since that debacle in Tennessee against the Jets and the Vikings. And last week was the first home game for the Patriots in what feels like forever. And it's the first time, and it was in somewhat prime time. It's not 8 o'clock prime time, but 4:30 prime time on Fox. And the Patriots, that was a big game for the Patriots too, because against a team like the Vikings with a defense as solid as theirs, I thought they really needed to come out and slap the Vikings in the mouth, and they did. 24-10. The defense was really the focal point of that game, and what impressed me the most, I think, is shutting down Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen for that amount of time. I thought was absolutely remarkable for a defense that has been suspect for not only this season but the past couple of years. Is that secondary has not been good. The front seven is fine. If they can generate pressure, the defense is going to be good. And if they can't generate pressure, well, that allows for receivers more time to get open, and then the secondary collapses and things aren't so good. So it really starts up front. So I thought that the front seven and the linebacking core did a very nice job of putting pressure on, Kirk Cousins and forcing him into some bad decisions. But Brady, my goodness, last week against the Vikings, completed 75% of his passes for 311 yards and a touchdown. Did have an uncharacteristic interception when he tried to force a pass to Edelman, but other than that, he had a rating of 102.5. The week before that, completed 65% of his passes, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a 115.4 rating. And then the Tennessee game, obviously, 254 yards, a 70.6 rating, and only completed 50% of his passes. But, besides those games, the Tennessee game and the Jacksonville game, the 2 probably worst games of the entire season, Brady has been nothing short of what you needed out of him. And you can't expect him to be, the MVP candidate that he was, in 07 when he threw 50 touchdown passes, or even 2010. But what you can expect from him is for him to be a productive quarterback and for him to lead the Patriots to victories every single Sunday. And of course, anything can happen. But against these teams, like the Dolphins, like the Jets and the Bills, who we have coming up in a couple weeks, after we play Pittsburgh, those are the games that you need to win, and those are the games that you expect Brady to be at his best. And those are will be the fine-tuned games, before the playoffs start against the Jets, against the Bills. Those two games are at home and they come at 1:00. And players always say that 1:00 games are better than 8:00 games because you get home, you have more time to relax, you can get more treatment. 1:00 games are the best, and players don't like the late games, and I don't blame them because you have to wait all day to get onto the field. But regardless of that fact, I think Brady is going to need these couple of games for some tune-up for the playoffs because we all know that Tom Brady is a different animal come playoff time, and I think you can say the same for any top of the line quarterback. I'm not so sure about Aaron Rodgers anymore because he is that whole debacle in Green Bay is something to behold, Alex. Really, with the firing of Mike McCarthy, he definitely deserved to be fired. Don't get me wrong, but during the middle of the season, I'm not sure I agree with it because of the fact that it just doesn't do him justice. He's been there for 13 seasons now, I believe, and he won a Super Bowl. He got to a couple conference championship games. He won the division, I think it was 7 times. So just before you get into any of that with the coaching situation, I think Aaron Rodgers, you have to look at it and say it's a different situation because a lot of people like to compare him and Brady. But the difference between him and Brady is the fact that Brady's more clutch. And that's when the playoffs come into play here. And I don't know if you can say that, well, Green Bay's out of the playoff picture, so that's regardless of the fact. But Brady's going to need those games to really settle himself in, get the offense going, to its full potential. And I'm not saying it hasn't been, but before the playoffs, everybody has a good defense. Everybody has, receivers that can catch and run fast, a good quarterback that can make all the throws. Special teams is really, the emphasis that Bill Belichick puts on the game. It starts and ends with special teams. You get good kick coverage, good return yardage, all that stuff. He's not concerned with how many throws that Patrick Mahomes can make on 40 plus yards down the field. He's not worried about that at all. He's worried about are we going to get good kick return yardage? Are we going to tackle well? All those little things that I'm not sure Andy Reid worries about. So that's the difference between the Patriots and some of these other teams. And this week is a big game because the Patriots have struggled in Miami, and Adam Gase is a young coach, and Belichick has to make sure he's not out game playing.
Brennan, by the way, Meredith Gorman, a good friend of mine in the show, she just tweeted the thermometer next to the Patriots bench says it's over 100 degrees out, and she said it's not. Then she goes, "Is it broken or is it a psychological trick by the Dolphins?" And she took a picture of it, and someone said, or maybe because it's directly in the sun, and she said it just got done raining there. So when she took it, so who knows? The Patriots have done this trick before to other teams.
I was about to say the Patriots did it to the Dolphins a couple years back when they came up here.
Yeah.
And the temperature, I believe, was below 30. I believe the Dolphins came here in November, or it was sometime in between October and November.
And they put it so cold.
It was very cold.
Yeah.
It was a 1:00 game, and I believe they put the thermometer out at about 10, and they adjusted it to be under 30 degrees, and it really wasn't. But psychological tricks like that, and the Dolphins ended up moving into the tunnel so they couldn't see it. But ultimately, tricks like that are something that are mind games. But I'm not sure the Patriots buy into any of that crap. I'm not really sure that that's what's going to affect some of these players. And maybe some of the younger guys, fine. Sonny Michel in his rookie season, and maybe Josh Gordon having not been around a team like the Patriots for that long. But honestly, I'll get into Josh Gordon in a second. I think New England is exactly the right situation that he needed to get his career back on track, and he has. But
the Patriots need to sign him back for a long-term deal.
They do. They really do. And he's been Tom Brady's, best weapon, arguably.
Especially if Gronk retires. Because it's been a true conversation about, look.
Personally, now, I believe he will. I think this is his last year.
I think this is his last year, too.
Especially if the Patriots win the Super Bowl. And there's no question in my mind he's done.
If the Patriots win a Super Bowl, I think Brady's done, too. Just the way his season has gone. Not exactly great. Not exactly, it was good, but not exactly. I think he's starting to realize that, okay, I can't keep doing this anymore. I think the pressure of Giselle is going to affect him, and especially if the Patriots win a Super Bowl. He's going out on top. And especially if Gronk retires, the whole combination between Brady and Gordon has been crucial this whole entire season, but can the Patriots be sure that Josh Gordon's going to come out next year and be such a huge factor even without Gronk? You can't. So just looking at the way the Patriots have played all season long, knowing that, okay, well, we have Brady, we have Gronk, we have Sonny Michel, we have um, Edelman, we have uh, Gordon back. But what happens when Gronk retires? The whole connection between Brady and Gronk is why the Patriots were so successful for so many years. So I think if Gronk retires and moves on from the NFL and goes out to either movies or the WWE, I think is going to be the reason why that Brady retires. He can't keep doing this till he's 45. He may want to, but he can't. And wouldn't it be sad if he had to retire out kind of almost like the Eli Manning of today? He's no Eli Manning, and he'll always be obviously more successful than Eli Manning, but what happens if he completely comes out next year and the Patriots can't win more than 5 games? It looks awful. It ruins the taste in your mouth. It does.
And you're right. A scenario like that would absolutely put a sour taste in your mouth, toward the Patriots and toward Tom Brady's, ending to his career. He deserves a lot better. And you're right. But I'm not sure a scenario like that is something that anybody would have to worry about, to be quite honest. I don't know if, should the Patriots win the Super Bowl, Gronk's definitely gone. There's not a doubt in my mind that Gronk would be retired and comfortably sitting in whatever other endeavor he decides to go with after football. But something that is something to think about is if the Patriots win the Super Bowl and Gronk walks away, where does that put Bill Belichick? Because now Gronk is I'm not saying he's a huge part of your offense, but he's a huge part of the Patriots as a team, and he's a huge part of what makes the Patriots whole. And now with the loss of Gronk, that puts you in a tough spot because Dwayne Allen is obviously not the guy you're relying on at the tight end position, and neither is Hollister, Cody Hollister. So now you're forced to draft another tight end, and now Brady's forced to reestablish the trust with this tight end. And the trust Brady and Gronk have with each other is second to none. I don't think Brady has ever trusted somebody more than he's trusted Gronk. Maybe Edelman. But besides that, I don't think Brady has trusted anybody else more than he's trusted Gronk, because you can just judge it by Gronk has the all-time record for receiving touchdowns by a tight end. And for Brady to go to him that many times, a tight end is not somebody that is before the days of Gronk and these big tight ends like Jimmy Graham and Tony Gonzalez really set the trend. But these tight ends weren't guys that were made to catch the football. They were guys made to block. And now the game has really changed where the tight end is more of a receiver than anything else. He's not used much in the run game. It's now a pass-first NFL. And the running backs, hence James White, is a guy that is used more in the passing game than he is in the run game. And maybe that's because of his size, his lack of, strength out of the backfield. Like Sonny Michel has a lot of girth and a lot of mass that he can push forward, and run for 6 or 7 yards at a time. But James White's not that guy, and neither has been a lot of running backs that we've seen really since, the turn of the century. The 2000s NFL and on has been a pass-first league. And that's when you have to look at it and say, okay, how long can Brady keep doing this without a Gronk, without an Edelman? These guys, Edelman too, you have to look at it from his perspective. He's taken a beating over the course of the last 3 or 4 seasons, and he's been out with a lot of injuries. And he's another one that it kind of flies under the radar because of the fact that Brady and Gronk are the focal points. But Edelman too is another one that you have to look at with the injury situation and how long can he keep going? Edelman's 32 years old. He's getting up there for a receiver, and receivers don't usually play past 33, 34, and that's old for a receiver. Edelman's getting up there in age as well. So for him to stick around for even 3 or 4 more years to see the end of Brady's career is something that I'm not sure is even 100% guaranteed as well. So it puts Belichick in a bind with these guys. The injury situation just keeps adding and adding and adding on, and you're at the point where I'm not sure. Belichick's at the age where he's not going to sit through another rebuild. It's now until the end of his career, and that's it. He's not going to sit through another rebuild. Brady is his guy till the end of his career, and he's going to ride off into the sunset with Brady at quarterback, whether they win 5 games or whether they win 15 games. Doesn't matter.
You said something about why Gronk isn't really a big part of the Patriots offense. He's a big part of the team, of course. And the reason why is because the Patriots either had to be successful without Gronk, a part of the
They
team.
won a Super Bowl without him.
Yeah, exactly. and especially looking to see the Patriots have had to win games this season in general without Gronk on the field. So the reason why he's a huge part of the offense, but the Patriots have to know how to win a game without Gronk, and the Patriots don't know how to win a game without Brady. When was the last time the Patriots need to win a game without Brady besides the 4 games that he was suspended for? You can't think about it.
2008 when he was hurt. That was the only
Right.
time that he's missed an extended period of time. Granted, the Patriots won 11-5 that year, but the Dolphins decided to be good that year and won the AFC East. The Patriots should have made the playoffs, but they missed it by 1 game because I forget who the team they tied with, but they tied with somebody for the last wild card spot, and that was the year that the AFC playoffs were really dominated by, 10-plus win teams because the Patriots did make the playoffs as an 11-win team, which is pretty eye-opening. So that was the last time the Patriots really had to compete without Brady, other than the 4-game suspension with Garoppolo and the combination of Jacoby Brissett, neither of whom are with the team anymore. And of course, the sad injury to Jimmy Garoppolo was torn ACL when he tried to just get a couple extra yards that wouldn't have mattered at the end of a play when he picked up a first down with the Niners. But now the Patriots don't have a backup plan at quarterback after Brady. So this is the thing now where Kraft has to come into play and realize, okay, what's going to happen to my team after Brady and Belichick are gone? Because realistically speaking, it's about 2 or 3 years left. The clock is ticking, folks. It is not anything now where Brady might play till he's 45. He wants to play until as long as he possibly can. No, now it's a thing of, can he keep going? Because Brady's name has popped up on the injury report. And this is not something to be overly concerned with, but it is something to note. His name's come up on the injury report the past 3 weeks, and he's dealing with a knee injury. He's dealing with a shoulder injury, shoulder or elbow, I forget which one, but regardless, he's dealing with a shoulder or an upper body injury as well as a knee injury. The knee has been there for a while, and it's been nagging him ever since. He tore his ACL. He's worn a brace every single game, every single practice since. But you forget all that, just down to the sheer hits that Brady has taken this season. And he's thrown 8 interceptions. His rating's down to 96.8. He's thrown for over 3,300 yards and 20 touchdowns. But, people still like to say, oh, it's the decline of Tom Brady. He's nearing the end. It's all going to come crashing down at the end of this year. And I think this year is the year. And I'm not saying it's the end because I don't think it is. But should the Patriots win the Super Bowl? There's a lot of questions that are going to be answered this offseason that they're going to need to have some forceful answers. Gronk, I think Gronk's an easy one. I think Gronk's out if the Patriots win the Super Bowl. And I don't think he's going to stick around any longer than his body has to. If the Patriots win, he's going to go out on top, like you said, Alex. Brady, on the other hand, I'm not so sure. Belichick, I'm not sure. It's really going to come down to does Brady still have the passion to play football? And I don't know if Giselle is going to want him to play football past this year should the Patriots win the Super Bowl. I think that's another thing you have to look at is the family factor in all of this. Is Brady's a huge family guy, and
He has so many young kids.
he does. He has his son Benjamin just turned 9 years old yesterday. He made an Instagram post about it. And he said, even in his caption on the picture, he said, the first gift is some bigger boxing gloves because I can't take these shots anymore. And obviously, it was a joke. It was a play on words. He didn't actually mean it, but it just goes to show that Brady's joking about his old age. He knows he's getting toward the end of the line. He's 41 years old. And for a quarterback to play at this level past 40 is unheard of. And now, officially, should the Patriots go deep into the playoffs, into the Super Bowl? If the Patriots even get to the Super Bowl, I think we can all officially say that Father Time has officially taken its first loss. I think we can all say that should the Patriots get to the Super Bowl this year with Brady at quarterback.
I think that if the Patriots get to the Super Bowl, I think that you can make the argument as to the other players that made the Patriots get to the Super Bowl. Of course, that
I don't know about that.
No, but I've heard this argument before. This is not my opinion, but I'm just making the argument. But let's say they're playing the Saints, right?
Yep.
What if it's a game similar to the year the Panthers were in the Super Bowl? Everyone was hyping up the Panthers, and look what happened to the Panthers. They just fell off a cliff in the Super Bowl. If that happens to the Patriots and the Saints destroy the Patriots,
Well, the Saints would be the favorite.
they would.
The Saints
Yeah,
would be the clear favorite.
right. But I'm saying, like, if the Saints just destroy the Patriots and embarrass them, Father Time won. They did. He did. Like, let's be honest here. If Tom Brady,
I don't see if you look
How
at
can
it
you
from a
say
perspective
yes?
of wins. You can make an argument. Well, what other quarterback 41 plus has made it to a Super Bowl? None.
sure, but you can make the argument. Well, that if what if you put Rob Gronkowski, Josh Gordon, Julian Edelman with a plus 39-year-old quarterback. Brady isn't a guy that creates isn't as dangerous as these other top quarterbacks. He really created a quarterback era to his own. He created the position. He revolutionized the position to create his own. He basically almost selfish the quarterback position to protect himself throughout his entire career, so he can play to this day and age.
And it's smart. I don't think anybody can deny the fact that Brady has played to his advantage, and he's played to he's adjusted his style of play over the last couple seasons to prolong himself. And I don't think anybody can make the argument that that's not something that they would have done. People say that Brady's soft in the pocket because he doesn't take hits anymore on sacks. He doesn't absorb the hits like a true man would, or he's all these things, but he's still playing and he's still putting up numbers and he's still getting wins. The Patriots are the number 2 seed in the AFC right now. They're chasing down Kansas City, and I'm sure Kansas City can feel the pressure of the Patriots breathing down their neck right now because it's like the little engine that could. The Patriots are right now. The team that everybody thought was going to fall off because they have an aging quarterback, they have an old coach. Their system doesn't work anymore. And by the way, people that say Brady's a system quarterback, they irk me to no end. I could go on with them for days that Brady's not a system quarterback, but that's another conversation for another time. But right now, Patrick Mahomes is the superstar of the NFL. He's the best quarterback in the league, and I'll give him that. Drew Brees is second. And then you can keep going down the list. I don't really know. A lot of the quarterbacks are jumbled up in that conversation of who's the best and who's really fallen off. Aaron Rodgers has taken the biggest hit this year, I think, quarterback-wise. But regardless of that fact, Patrick Mahomes is the guy. And I'm not saying that he's not. I'm not denying the fact that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league and is going to win the MVP. He is. 41 touchdowns and over 4,000 yards in his first 13 NFL games is something that's never been done and probably never will be done. And he's probably going to break the touchdown passing record. He's got 4 weeks to throw 14 touchdowns. That would be to tie the record of 55. And I think he's going to do it. I really do. I think he's going to get a handful this week, another handful next week, and then he's going to have a breakout week against Oakland at home. Come on, Oakland, really? I know Oakland gave him all they could handle and then some last week, and they almost beat him. They only lost by a touchdown. But the thing is, Patrick Mahomes threw for 4 touchdowns in that game. But Brady is a guy. He's not going to throw for over 40 touchdowns probably ever again. And then the Patriots don't need him to. They've adjusted now where they have enough weapons around him to give him the opportunity to succeed. And that's where people fault him, and that's what angers me. Is the fact, you give Brady credit because of his, the only reason he's good is because of his weapons. No, that's not it at all. If you give Tom Brady, a Devontae Adams, an Adam Thielen, a Stephon Diggs, or like Drew Brees has, a Michael Thomas, or Brandon Cooks, like Jared Goff has. Brady had Brandon Cooks, but he didn't really thrive here because Brady can't throw the deep ball. But it's never been his style, and it never will be. But the thing now is, if you give Brady one of those weapons, a Devontae Adams, say, the Patriots are even better than what they are now. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. They don't lose to Jacksonville. They don't lose to Tennessee. The Patriots are still, I believe, the team to beat in the AFC, regardless of what the Chiefs have going on over there or not. If the Patriots have to go into Arrowhead, I'm not denying it'll be a tough game because it will. But should the Patriots chase down the Chiefs and get the 1 seed, and the Chiefs have to come here for the AFC Championship game, it's all over. It's all over. The Patriots will go back to the Super Bowl. I said it before the season. I said my Super Bowl prediction. The Patriots versus the Saints was my Super Bowl prediction. I'm sticking with it. I tweeted it out I think it was last week I tweeted it out. And I said, I'm sticking with it. Do you agree with me? And 91% of the votes were yes.
I voted yes, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So people have faith in this Patriots team. And as much scrutiny as they face, Tom Brady's not the same. The scheme isn't working. It's falling apart. The secondary suspect, all this stuff about the Patriots not being the team to beat anymore. They are. They clearly are. They beat the Chiefs earlier in the season. Granted, it was at home, But regardless, they came out with a win. Did they not? They did. So
I think it would have been a completely different game if that game was in Arrowhead. I don't think the Patriots
it
would
would
have
have been a
won.
more defensive game. I don't think that Brady would have put up 43 points. I really don't. I just don't think he would have. But the Chiefs' defense is not as good as advertised, and I'll tell you this right now: their secondary has been bottom third of the league for the past 40 seasons, and now all of a sudden, because they have a quarterback, and this just shows they didn't trust Alex Smith. They have a quarterback now that they know is young, who's coming into the league, who's playing to the style of these quarterbacks now, the running quarterback who has a ton of arm strength, much similar to what Russell Wilson is. A guy that can move around in the pocket, extend plays, and connect with long, deep shots down the field with a Tyreek Hill. And it really has revolutionized the position. So I don't know if the game would have been different. It probably would have been a different outcome. The Patriots still would have won, I believe, and I still believe they'll win if they have to go there in January.
Yeah, I think just the way the Patriots have performed for most of the season, I think you have to look at the way they've performed on the road. I said this earlier in the show. I've said this for many weeks now. The Patriots have been a completely different team on the road. And just that's how crucial today's game is for the Patriots. They need to prove themselves. They need to prove to the fans that are still on the edge to fully hopping on board for the Patriots this year because of the fact they haven't been able to finally sit back after a Patriot win to feel 100% confident. And the Patriots won in a road game. It was ugly. It wasn't well done. You know, there was some big questions coming out of the game. Well, injury wise, you know, the way the defense has performed, the way the offense performed. Well, you know, can they come out next week and win again? The Patriots have a very tough next few games. So the just today's game is crucial for the Patriots to 100% prove to the fans, the coaches, and even themselves, the players, to prove that they got what it takes to go to the Super Bowl. But I think you can't look at long term. Sure, you can say, okay, well, we want to make it to the Super Bowl. You need to win today. You need to clinch the division. And then you want to clinch at home so you're not playing, you know, 3 games. You want to get to that second week. You want to get the first week bye. So I think you need to take this game one at a time, look at the Dolphins, and hopefully say, okay, well, we got this win today, and then we can win, we can beat the Dolphins, and then move on to next week, and just keep on that roll. The Patriots, this is their time that they start rolling in general. So I think that this game and the next few games is crucial for the Patriots.
I do as well, and there's a full slate of games around the NFL today, and a lot of them the Patriots really need to keep their eye on. And I know the Patriots aren't one to scoreboard watch, but perhaps they should with the Chiefs and the Steelers going on today, and even the Chargers who are chasing them down, the Texans as well. And the Texans are a team that nobody talks about, and I'm sure that's how they like it. I'm sure the Texans think, hey, we're the underdogs in all of this. You know, you're talking about the Chiefs and the Patriots and the Chargers even now, although Melvin Gordon's out for 3 weeks with an MCL sprain. But regardless of that, the Chargers are still a dangerous team in the AFC, along with the Steelers, who I don't think are that dangerous whatsoever. But they still lead their division. They're still in the conversation. But we're going to take a quick, short break here on Talk of the Town and come back with our NFL official playoff predictions. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
We're fortunate that we can give our daughters everything they need to grow and learn, but not every child can focus on classes and play dates.
Nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. face hunger. That's 1 in 6. School lunch might be their only meal each day, and it's heartbreaking to imagine any child going to bed hungry. We're dreaming of a perfect day when kids can smile, play, and just be kids without worrying about where their next meal will come from. Feeding America is working to make that perfect day a reality.
Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. That food is given to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about doing things that make an ordinary day extraordinary. Learning to play an instrument, building a sandcastle, hosting tea parties. Hunger should never be an obstacle to growing up.
You can help end childhood hunger in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back here on Talk of the Town after a short, quick break. Brendan Howell and Alex Hughes here with you. We got about 25 minutes left of this week's show, December 9th, 2018, Alex. It's Time has flown by this semester, and this is our last show of the semester for all of you listening. We'll be back in January, right after the AFC Championship game, actually.
And Brendan, by the way, 66 days until pitchers and catchers report to spring training.
I love
66.
it. 66. That is, wow. I didn't think the number would be that low. 66 days?
Yeah, well, you think about it, the Yankees just posted that their first spring training game is mid-February.
Wow.
So, it's coming up quick. It's really coming up quick.
That's remarkable. 66 days. I can't wait. But right now, all the focus is on the NFL playoffs, which are really starting to shape up, Alex. And we did a segment here at Dean College on DNN, the Dean News Network program that is the student-run organization here on campus. But right now, Patriots are in the thick of things, and we just talked about the Patriots. But I want to get your take on everybody else and where they're going to finish. So, what's your prediction for who takes the number 1 seed here in the AFC?
I think, well, I would have to say, I would say the Patriots. I think honestly, the way that the other teams have been performing in the last few weeks, the Patriots.
I would say the Patriots too, and the reason why is because the Chiefs still have to play the Chargers, which I think is the toughest game that's remaining on their schedule. The Chiefs even have to play the Ravens today, who are 7-5 and still fighting for a playoff spot with the Steelers. The Steelers could even lose this division, Alex. And let me tell you, if the Steelers end up losing this division to Baltimore, who's a team that nobody really expected to be in the playoff hunt this year, with the transition over at quarterback with Lamar Jackson, it's really been a blessing instead of a blessing in disguise for the Baltimore Ravens. They can take over that division leader. If they can overtake the Steelers, and the Steelers fall to a wild card team, that's the best case scenario for the Patriots, because most people predicted the Patriots and the Steelers to match up in the AFC Championship game, or even the Jaguars, who are not even in the question for the playoffs anymore. But if the Chiefs lose to the Ravens, that only helps the Patriots. So I think the Patriots get the number 1 seed by way of the Chiefs still having a relatively tough schedule.
Yeah, and especially just the way the Patriots have been performing in the last few weeks, and it's just been an exciting last few weeks in the NFL, and just looking forward to get to the playoffs area. This is the final stretch. This is a time where it's almost like finals time for a college student. It's either the make or break time for a team. Whether or not you can hold it together and perform at the highest level to get to the playoffs with the seed that you want, or you're done. So you mentioned the Dolphins are looking to they're still in the division. I know it's probably like added, but
it's a long shot. But mathematically, you're correct. They
yeah,
are still in.
They're going to play today to beat the Patriots to further their hope of winning the division, and it's not It's not over till it's over, as Yogi Berra always said. And especially with the next few games for the Patriots, they're tough games. They're not just like, oh, we're going to win definitely. You can't say that for any matchup, especially
this week and next week. I think are two very tough games.
Yeah, exactly.
This week in Miami, obviously, we know the story about how the Patriots go to Miami and struggle. But next week in Pittsburgh too is going to be no slouch. And I know I have my doubts about Pittsburgh, but I'm not saying they can't come out and put up a lot of points, because they do have Antonio Brown, they do have James Conner. So I'm not going to say that that's an easy game for the Patriots by any means.
I think if the Patriots have to win one game out of these two, it would have to be today, because you might not be able to beat the Steelers at home, especially the way they've been performing this whole season as a whole. It's going to be a difficult game. I think out of the two games, next week is going to be the most difficult.
You brought up the fact earlier on in the show that this game for Miami over the last couple of years, when they play the Patriots at home, has been like their Super Bowl. And I think next week in Pittsburgh, that's going to be Pittsburgh's Super Bowl. They really haven't had a tough test yet this year. They're 7-4-1, and they're 3-3 at home. Actually, I'm looking at it now, and I'm actually kind of surprised by that. They're 4-1-1 on the road. They're a better road team than they are a home team. So that's an interesting stat, because whenever the Steelers have had to come into Foxborough, that they've struggled, and whenever the Patriots go into Heinz Field, the Patriots beat them. So maybe it's just the fact that the Patriots are the Steelers' kryptonite.
I just feel like there's something missing from the Patriots when they go on the road. I don't know what it is, Brendan. I really don't. but everyone, and including you and myself, have noticed that there's just something completely different from the Patriots when they go on the road. And just you can't be like, oh well, you know, we got this win today in Pittsburgh, because you look at the history, the Patriots are a better home team than they are on the road. So how is that going to go up against a team that performs better on the road against the Steelers? Who knows? Because the Patriots have been just played garbage on the road. Look how they played against the Jets in New York in the first few quarters.
Yeah.
They almost
you're
lost to the
right.
Jets.
You're right. I mean, the offense was stagnant in the first couple of quarters in New York. It was a 10-10 game for the first quarter, and then deep into the second quarter. Ultimately, the Patriots pulled away and won by 2 touchdowns, and it was really a kind of a dominating win. I know 2 scores isn't a lot, but when you look at it, the defense really, and when I think about it, the defense has played extraordinary the past couple of weeks against. I know the Jets is a very small sample size. Their offense isn't great at all, but against the Vikings too, and that was really I remember, if I remember back correctly, to the week after or the day after the Jets game, people were saying, "Oh well, you can't really judge this performance because it is the Jets and it is their offense and it is Josh McCown." Granted, you don't get to face Josh McCown every week, and then the next week against the Vikings was the big test, and they passed with flying colors. And now coming into this game in Miami, a place where they've struggled and the place where the Dolphins have put up some points against the Patriots, is going to be another tough test for this Patriots defense today. And if they can pass this test, then I think you can say that, hey, there are really no concerns right now with this Patriots team other than injuries, which is, knock on wood, the only thing that I think could really derail them should they win this game today.
By the way, I forgot to mention one of the other top Patriot players is Patterson. And Tom Brady, Tom Brady has kind of coined him as the whole experiment here in Foxborough. That's his nickname, the experiment. And just to see how he's performed, ever since that 95-yard kick return a few weeks ago that he had, to turn into a touchdown himself. How can he perform? With his whole, in addition to his kickoff return expertise. He's a guy that is new to the Patriots. In a way that kind of revolutionized that guy that you can have more confidence in, almost similar to a Sony Michel, and on this Patriot team.
Definitely, and you're right. His nickname is the experiment, which I think is kind of funny because Cordell Patterson was a key piece on when he was in Oakland and when he was in Minnesota as a kick returner. But that's the reason why the Patriots brought him over here was for special teams specifically, because he lost Danny Amendola. Amendola was the guy who returned punts. He was the guy that you relied on to get you in good field position to start drives, and that's really what the Patriots have thrived on is good return yards. And Bill Belichick preaches that all the time. He talks about it in his weekly press conferences every week. It comes back to special teams. So some of the things that you look at with this Patriots team, and Josh Gordon is another one. He was an experiment. So, and he turned out to play great. And same thing with Patterson. I think those are 2 guys now that Brady has really come to trust. And with Belichick and McDaniels, the genius idea, putting in Patterson as a running back when Michel was out hurt and James White was the only guy you could really rely on. And Rex Burkhead, who also just came back, has really relieved Patterson of that duty at running back. But it was a genius idea, and it worked because nobody expected it. That was the thing. The Patriots have been able for so many years to keep you on your toes, and that's what a lot of these other teams in the playoffs that are potentially playoff opponents, I don't think can do. Andy Reid is certainly not innovative in that way, and to be quite honest, I don't think he's had to be over the course of his career because he's had these superstar players, and he just hasn't had the ability to manage the clock well come the end of the game. Has Andy Reid been able to manage the clock in some of these playoff games, he would have had a much different career, I think. Super Bowl 39 is a prime example. So I don't know. I don't think that you can look at some of these coaches and say that, oh well, they have this guy that can be an X factor that can really alter the Patriots game plan or catch them off guard. I just don't look at any of those coaches, Mike Tomlin, Andy Reid. I don't Adam Gase today. I don't think that any of these coaches have that ability.
Especially, just the ability for the Patriots and other teams to kind of just like revolutionize themselves, and create an atmosphere that other teams have not been able to do. And especially the way that The Patriots have really created them from put themselves. When you look at the Patriots and other teams, the Patriots are a different franchise in the NFL. Like it's almost like you look at they're almost like the top 10% of the NFL. Just the way they've been able to. I would tell you this earlier during the break that the last time the Patriots didn't win more than 10 games in 2002, and the NFL Network didn't even exist. Talk about um, a franchise, just a monumentary run for the Patriots. Talk about a franchise. What's I'm looking for a different word here. Um, anyways, but just the way the Patriots have been revolutionized the NFL in a way that um, you look at the Patriots' history, they were garbage for so many years, and this generation, and including myself, but this generation hasn't seen the Patriots struggle, for a whole. We haven't seen the Patriots loss. I know my dad has been a Patriots fan since the '80s when they were just straight trash, and the stadium was garbage, and the Patriots in general were garbage, and Patriot fans are spoiled in today's day and age. They are. You, you look at Giant fans; they were spoiled for a few years, and then look what happened. You look at the Jets; they were spoiled for a few years, and then look what happened. You look at all these teams in the NFL; it's unheard of for an NFL team to be good for more than 4 years, maybe three. But the Patriots have been good for way over 10 years, maybe 15.
Almost 2 decades. Now.
Right, exactly.
It's really crazy to think about, and there's going to come a point when this is all going to come to a screeching halt when Brady and Belichick are gone, and then all we have is the Super Bowl DVDs to go back and watch. So it's coming toward the end of the line here, and so this is why I think the Patriots are in need of just one more Super Bowl to try and just solidify their legacy as the greatest franchise in pro football. They would tie the Steelers for most Super Bowl championships by any NFL franchise, but most Steelers fans now weren't even alive for half of those championships. The last one they had came in Super Bowl 43, which is in 2010, I believe. 2009? No, 2009 was the Saints. 2010 was the Packers. I'm not even sure when it was. 2008 it might have been, because 2007 was, of course, we don't know. But I think it was the year after that. So, regardless, it's been a while for the Steelers. And the Patriots to win a sixth ring, I think, and for Tom Brady to win a sixth ring, and for the Patriots to win all six of their championships with one quarterback and one coach is something that will never, ever be replicated again in really any sport because of the whole free agency thing now with it's all about the money and coaches leave and players leave because they want to play closer to home or they get a better deal or whatever the case is. It's unheard of for the Patriots to do what they've done, and they've been the golden standard for excellence in pro sports for the last 2 decades, and nobody I don't think is going to be able to replicate it ever again. So to your point, I'm not sure that any team will be able to say, hey, we truly ended the Patriots dynasty. I think the only people that can end the Patriots dynasty is the Patriots
That's what I was looking
dynasty. Oh, there you go. Better late than never, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think that we can compare it to other sports. I think if we compare it back to baseball, you're not gonna like this, but almost like the Yankees. Come on, don't you dare roll your eyes at that because it's a fact. The Yankees have had so many dynasties throughout all the years, and I know you hate to admit it, but you have to.
I'm not hating to admit it. I know they have. It's just I hate hearing about it.
Well, sorry, you're gonna have to for the next few seconds, but. I think you look at the dynasties throughout the years for the Yankees. Back in the '60s with Mickey Mantle, you go back earlier with the Babe Ruth, the 19, early 20 Yankees. Just throughout all the seasons, you have Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle. All those years, we've had so many good dynasties within the Yankee organization, and this is a time for the Patriots. And you can also compare it to the NBA with the Celtics. How many dynasties throughout the Celtics history, and how many dynasties throughout there.
The Celtics won 8 straight back in the '60s.
Exactly. So that was their dynasty. And now we're living through the the dynasty of the Patriots. You know, with Tom Brady, the likes of Bill Belichick, the likes of Robert Kraft, the owner, the likes of Rob Gronkowski, and you can even put in guys like Edelman and Amendola in the conversation of impactful guys throughout the years. So this is their time to shine. This is their dynasty era. I know we're almost out of time. Can't believe it.
I know. We got about 10 minutes left. We're going to take a short break here and come back with our last segment, our power rankings, our weekly power rankings. You don't want to miss those coming up on Talk of the Town. Stay with us for the final segment. Welcome back on Talk of the Town. We got about 8 minutes left in the show, and it's our last segment of the semester. Our power rankings, our weekly power rankings, our NFL standings, or who we think top five teams are in the league. Alex, number one.
Uh, I'm gonna say the LA Rams. Just the
Kind of an
past,
obvious choice at this point, I feel like.
yeah, just it's either been the Rams or the Saints in my number one. Maybe I think I had the Patriots up there for 1 week. But just the past black win rate for the Rams the entire season. You have to give it up for the guys up front, and it just all starts. They're 11-1, Brendan, and just the Rams and their explosive offense. The offensive line ranks number one in the pass block win rate. That's what I mentioned earlier in this whole thing. And it's really defined when a pass blocker sustains his block for 2.5 seconds following the snaps. And the Rams have won 63% of their pass blocks, allowing Jared Goff plenty of time to distribute the ball to a host of playmakers. And just the way that the Rams have performed all season long is going to come down to um, the Rams or the Saints. It's just that whole conversation where these two teams kind of came out of nowhere. Not really, but like we didn't expect them to be this good. And it's going to be interesting to see how the next few seasons come along. Yeah, we can look at the next 4 weeks of the regular season, then the playoffs, but it's going to be exciting to see just exactly how these teams revolutionize themselves in general going forward. Can it be a Patriot? Can they be? The Rams have a young team, so it's going to be interesting to see. Is this the new dynasty of the Rams? Are they going to be the new Patriots? Let's see what happens.
You never know, and with the ever-changing NFL, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I think the Rams are also my number one, 11-1, top to bottom. They're the most complete team in the league, and Alex, that was a great stat that you brought up about how Jared Goff's been given a ton of time to distribute the football. But the Rams they have every key piece that you could want, and they have what I believe to be the NFL MVP and Aaron Donald on the defensive side of things, not even on the offense. Usually, when we talk about MVP, we talk about a quarterback or even a running back, but for a defensive lineman to win the MVP is unheard of. And he leads the league in sacks. He's second in forced fumbles behind Khalil Mack. I believe Mack has 5 and Donald has 4. But and they actually play each other today, Sunday Night Football. The Rams are my number one. They're just top to bottom, just the most versatile, complete team. Their coach has really changed the game as far as versatility on offense. It's really incredible to watch. Number 2 for me, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 10-2, number 1 seed in the AFC, but hopefully not for long. Hint, hint at the Patriots. Patrick Mahomes is another MVP candidate, but Aaron Donald just doing what he's done on the defensive side of things in an era now in the NFL where you can barely touch the quarterback. The defense is really turning into playing soccer in the NFL. You can't breathe on somebody and you're flagged for something. Roughing the passer, I think, is one of the stupidest rules of this era's NFL. Is you can't hit the quarterback. You can't land with your body weight on the quarterback. Well, what do you want him to do? Two-hand touch him? Like, really? Like, hey, come on. I feel like that's where we're headed right now with the way these penalties are going. Alex, you're number 2.
It's going to be the New Orleans Saints. Despite their stunning offensive flop at Dallas in Week 13, the Saints have scored points on a 58.1% of their drives this season, which is on pace to be the highest rate by any NFL team since the league expanded to a 16-game schedule in 1978. The record of 53% belongs to the 2007 Patriots, who went 16-0. So just looking at the way the Saints have performed all season long, and they are at a historic season in general, they're really creating history over there in New Orleans. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The Saints are going to be walking in very soon.
Number 3 for me is actually going to be the Saints. They're 10-2. I think the only reason the number 3 for me is because that loss to the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football, I think, did a lot of damage. I think that it really allowed the Rams to take over as the superior team in the NFC. I'm not saying that the Saints can't go into LA and win because they can't. And, they've done it before. But I just think that loss to Dallas really hurt them. And I think it cost Drew Brees a chance at winning the MVP. And Stephen A. Smith said it on First Take the next day, and I agree with it. So the Saints are number 3 for me only because of that loss to the Cowboys. They still have the same record as the Chiefs, and they're 1 game behind the Rams, and they need some help to get that home field advantage. But I'm not sure they're going to get it. But if the Saints, are number 3.
Number 4 for me is going to be, the number 3 for me is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs. Passing touchdowns is the key for the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes has 41, and the Chiefs needed most of them because of their defense. Their defense has struggled the entire season, and they will need Mahomes to challenge the NFL record of 55 if they're going to continue to win, and especially going deep into the playoffs. They are going to need the offense of Patrick Mahomes if they are going to be successful going forward the rest of the season.
Number 4 for me is going to be the New England Patriots, and the only reason they're this far down on my power ranking is because of the dominance of the Rams and the Saints and the Chiefs. The Patriots 9-3. If they win this week, I think they'll be higher up. When we come back. But actually, when we come back, it'll be the playoff power rankings.
Yeah.
So the Patriots right now, sitting at 9-3. They're number 4 on my power rankings. They probably should be higher, but they're not because of those 3 dominant teams. But Patriots are still, I believe, the team to beat in the AFC until proven otherwise. And, I'll believe it when I see it. But I don't think the dynasty is over. I think the Patriots are going to be in the Super Bowl. But, that's a conversation for when we get back, hopefully.
Number 4 for me is going to be the New England Patriots, and we're almost out of time. So I think we kind of exhausted the whole topic about the Patriots today. Big game for the Patriots. Brendan, do you want me to go right into my 5 now?
Go ahead.
All right. Well, it's been an incredible semester talking with you on Talk of the Town this Sunday. And to end the power rank. No, I'm going to let you go. What's your number 5? I'm going to end this.
Oh, you're going to switch it? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
My number 5 is the Houston Texans at 9-3. I think that the Texans are a team flying under the radar. I think that J.J. Watt and company are going to make some noise in the playoffs, not against the Patriots, knock on wood. But, other than that, I think that the Texans are a premier team in the AFC and somebody no one's really talking about.
Number 5 for me, the Cleveland Browns.
Stop it. Stop. Just stop it.
Yep. Number 5 to end it off, to
Just
end
stop
the semester.
Just stop it right now. Blasphemy.
I
Absolute
think
blasphemy.
Baker Mayfield is in the contention. I don't think he will be rookie of the year, but he's in the contention. And to really see the Browns grow as a team in general throughout the years, the Browns have been straight garbage for so many years.
Oh my god.
And yeah, to end it off the semester and to touch on the whole hopping on the bandwagon, hopping on the Mayflower, the Browns, number 5 for me.
Well, that's going to conclude the power rankings. I would go into detail about why I just completely disagree with that statement about Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. But we are out of time. We have passed our deadline, past 12 o'clock here. So right now, we want to wish you all a very happy holiday season, a happy and safe holiday season at that. Enjoy your time with family and friends. I know Alex and I will. We thank you all for listening this semester, and we will be back next semester with more blasphemous statements like the one that Alex just presented you all with here on Talk of the Town. Brendan Howe and Alex Fuse signing off for the semester. Thank you very much for listening.